Good afternoon, YouTube. Ian here from Coolice Charge Case and Power Supplies. Hope you're safe and well wherever you are in the world, and you are enjoying the day so far. Anyway, got another quick case I'd like to show you about if I can. This one is 99% done, and I say 99% because I still haven't done the little laser etched legend plaque to go on the outside there. I keep forgetting about it, but I will do in a minute because this one is now ready to go on to the customer. So I won't elaborate too much, but basically the spec was keep the case as small as possible and fit 4 ISDT P20s within this case. Power them accordingly. So at the moment, it's got my usual server 2400 watt, 25 volt, 100 amp power supply, but of course that effectively only allows for give or take 20 amps per charger, or a little bit more than that, perhaps 25, which is enough if you're only going to charge 1 or 2 packs per channel. So we have allowed for expansion further down the line, and I will elaborate on that a little bit further as I open it up. So let me open it up. I'll keep the lid as a secret for now because that's got their logo in it, and we'll pan over to that in a minute. So as you can see, this case actually follows the same sort of design ethos as my smaller quad ISDT Air 8 Max 300 builds, in that we've got obviously the chargers obviously laid out, 2 on one side of the case, or one half of the case, or deck if you like, and 2 on the other half. But then of course then in this instance the P20 is a dual channel charger, so effectively it's 2 Air 8s I think in one shell. So we've broken it down to, and I think I have kept this the same on both sides. Yes, I have tried to. I should perhaps do a channel 1 and channel 2. So we've got channel 1 at the bottom, which equates to the left hand side of the charger, channel 2 at the top, which equates to the right side, and again same up here. So channel 1 here, channel 2 this side, and it's the same on the right hand side. So as you can see, we've got obviously 2 pairs of P20s here, which obviously equals the quads. Due to obviously needing to keep this case quite small, I did have a concern obviously about heat build up. Not necessarily during the charge cycle perhaps, because you're not really doing anything, but of course if the customer wants to discharge a LiPo per channel of each charger kind of thing, the chargers will obviously run warmer. So under, obviously in the middle of the deck here, then we've got 2 of my radial 7530 fans off the top of my head, and obviously they're laying flat to the underside of the deck with then the 3D printed ducts, which obviously then take the air from an obviously 90 degree and then obviously curl it up and out through the grills, cut into the deck material itself. So they're obviously whirling away all the time. They're not controlled by a temperature module or anything like that. They just run. I don't want the heat to build up in there. I want it to be evacuated from within the case as quickly as possible, and that'll obviously do that from this way. So air inlet slots as per normal for me at the front. The power supplies, as you can see, the wiring is quite tight in there. The power supplies again are orientated front to back, so they'll obviously expel their warm air at the back, which is obviously quite tight there, but that plan is we're obviously sucking air in here. And I have added some grills at the back of the case, which I will show you in a bit when I flip the case around to try and show you one-handed. And an effort to, that was a sideline effort there to obviously promote airflow then being drawn in from the back, which would then capture, in my opinion, the air, the warmed air coming out from the back of the power supplies, and obviously then throw it back out of the case through these middle fans. But should I need to, there is just enough room at the back of the case where I can 3D print and cut additional apertures at the back to fit a line of fans along the back as well. So there is options there, and with good reason too, because one of the options that I suggested to the customer was, if he really wants to push this case, maybe we should then split, instead of running the 4 channels off one 2400 watt power supply, have another one fitted. So we've got 2 power supplies coming off one 2400 watt supply, and these 2 on this side coming off a secondary 2400 watt power supply. So what I have done actually, in fact, is the power supplies that are in this case, they're justified over to the left hand side underneath these chargers, with enough room, with obviously manipulating where the mounting brackets are to mount another one on this side. Relatively simple, and then obviously then create another AC connector on the back, and you'll see how I've mounted that on this case shortly as I turn it round. So essentially then the customer would then be able to fully utilize the power capabilities of all the chargers quite nicely, and at the same time as well have a little bit more redundancy kind of thing. Because if a charger failed, that wouldn't be too much of an issue because they could still use the other charger. If a power supply failed, and of course then the server supplies are secondhand when they reach us for our use, while they are relatively easy to replace, because obviously I use my quick release slide on connectors on the front, you do obviously then still have to take the deck up, and if they're on site, which they are going to be because these guys are aerial photography guys, the last thing they'd want to be doing is doing that while they're actually on the shoot. They'd probably do some maintenance on the case in the evening, ready for the next following day. So with another set of power supplies there, they'd have a little bit more redundancy built in, but that is something we can cross when it comes to it. So as per normal, you can see it's the usual sort of thing. We've got obviously the twin USB charge port at the back, the QC3 charge port, cable chain at the back as well, which then obviously goes to my 3D printed mount for that. And then of course then it's got two power wires going through, a positive and negative, because the customer then wanted their logo in the lid, and it's a rounded logo. So I created another 3D printed frame, if you want to call it that, to obviously hold the logo in place. That then is also designed with, then it's got a strip of 24 volt cob LED strip then along the bottom here. And that is quite nice. Instead of having individual LEDs, which admittedly it still has, they're a lot smaller and a lot closer together. So the light output from it is a lot more streamlined, for want of a better word, or it's more it's more uniform. It just comes straight out of it, out the front of it. And I used this same cob in Lee Cheeseman's build recently inside the storage compartment. So any people that have watched the video of that will notice it. It was a hell of a lot nicer light output from that. It was just a constant beam of light. So that's what's on this, and it obviously then the acrylic, that's 5mm acrylic that's obviously been laser etched from the backside, so of course then it will catch the light, and you'll see that when I turn that on in a bit. So without going on too much, because I'll turn this on, let me try and flip this around so I can show you the back. So basically the case is obviously a little bit banged up. The customer supplied, he already had the case and said, can you use this? I said yes we can. So he sent me the case along. So I've literally just used what he's got. There's no point buying anything new unless you really have to. So as you can see, going back a few years now, I designed these air inlet vents for another case build, which at the time I think I fitted in between these ribs from memory, front and back. So they were, the original ones were a little bit too long, so I shortened them. And obviously, of course, then mounted them on this case. So basically they are just to let air in, and the way the vanes are then in theory, okay, it's not going to be watertight as such, but if it rains and the rainwater goes this way, it's just going to drip off the vanes and go on the floor, so that's fine. Due to space limitations, you've probably seen in the corner of this, we've got the IEC connector on the side. There wasn't much space to put it on the deck, sadly, with the way that I've got the fans orientated. And I also then didn't want to put it on the side of the case, because of course then it would be in the way of the batteries that are charging. So again, fired up the 3D software package, which is Fusion 360, designed and 3D printed then a holder which mounts within the strengthening ribs, as you can see there, and also I've angled the sides as well, so it kind of tapers in along with the taper of the case molding itself, so it's quite good. And obviously then from that then I've got it here, actually created my own little template then to help me drill the locating holes and everything else, so I could get everything cut accurately and stuff for it. So that just literally, if and when we expand to the other side, there'll be another one going in this side, so that template will literally then just hold up in there, and then that gives me the mounting hole locations to drill, so it's accurate. So it's quite nice and simple like that. But of course then with the AC on this side, then it's just nice and neat at the back of the case. And of course then on the lid itself, we've got obviously the mounting points for the lid logo. Let me try and flip it around one hand again, make sure the AC lead is still plugged in, and let's turn it on. And there we go. You can see obviously here, obviously in the background, all the chargers are powered up, the fans are running. It's not too obtrusive, but there's definitely a nice airflow coming out of there, which is what we want all the time. And obviously they've got two fans, one over this side, one over this side, so they're both kind of firing towards one another. And then it's a one-piece 3D printed duct here with a a dividing bar, if you like, down the middle, so they are two separate fan outputs there, kind of thing. So that's quite nice. The USB charge port stays off until you press the little button to turn it on. So we've got 24.4 volts coming out the pair of Series Link power supplies, and then the logo in the lid, which obviously, as you can see, glows quite nicely. And again, with this one, as with another build where I use the same sort of technique, the panel behind the laser etched acrylic is also 3D printed. So when you look closely, and it's very difficult to see on the photograph, on pictures or on video, you can see the pattern of the 3D print behind it, which I think gives quite a nice look to it. So I'm quite pleased. Hopefully the customer will be, and this will be off shootly. For all your charging needs, give me a shout. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.